Good morning to you, and good afternoon to those that are on the East Coast, and welcome to our February call for the Office 365 U.S. Partner Community. And today we're going to be talking about PowerApps and Flow. Really appreciate everyone joining today. And so, of course, we're going to have our little community welcome for those that are new. And today we have Kerem Yüceturk with us, and he's a principal program manager, and we are very excited to have Kerem with us. I know he's been preparing for a presentation at our internal Tech Ready conference, so we have a great presenter with us, and so really happy to have him, and I really appreciate his time and sharing everything with us and with the partner community, so that's going to be great. And then we have Asaf Berenson, who will be joining us a little bit later at the end of the call, and he's a partner ecosystem manager, and he's going to talk about those partner opportunities. If you're interested in becoming a PowerApps partner, he's going to go ahead and give you some resources for that. So as you know, if you're familiar with the Event Builder platform, you can go ahead and queue up those questions, and I'll ask Kerem when he has a chance. And then we can hopefully get some of those questions answered after, depending on how things are going on time. So feel free to type in your questions at the window. If you're new to our community, I did put the Yammer link in the messages window, and so that's the AKA join O365 Yammer, and that's where I'm going to be posting the deck later today after the call. That's where you can get that and to join in the conversation. There's a lot of partner interaction there, so don't be shy, say hello, and feel free to provide any comments or ask questions of either the Microsoft folks or the other partners that are out there. And we also have some blogs as part of our community. There's actually two. There's the U.S. blog, which is kind of like a more formal, all-up, kind of letting you know what's happening for the month all around the different communities that we have here as part of our enablement team unit, so aka.ms US Office 365 blog. And then there's also an enablement blog. And so if you haven't checked out that property, it's part of kind of the learning blog, and so there's other resources there. And I created a vanity URL for that to make it a little bit easier. It's US Office 365 community blog. So you might want to check out those articles that we have there. All right, and just a quick promotion for those of you who are interested in building your Skype for Business practice. We will follow the Skype operations framework, and this is a technical training, so solutions architects, technical sellers, support engineers. It's really good training. It's a few days, and I have the cities there listed, so if you're near one of those cities and you're interested in strengthening or building that practice around Skype for Business, you can register at the AKAMS Skype for Business Technical Airlift, SFB Technical Airlift. So I just wanted to let you know about that. As we do, and you could also check out the Yammer group as well for additional upcoming opportunities. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Kerem. I really appreciate you being with us, and go ahead and take over as presenter. And again, welcome to the community, and thanks for presenting today.
Thank you very much, Michael. Really happy to be here and to be able to connect with the community this way. Thank you for this opportunity. Hi everyone, my name is Kerem Yüceturk. I'm a program manager in the SharePoint team, and I'm here to talk about how SharePoint is integrating with PowerApps and Flow. I'll do a little bit of an introduction with PowerApps and Flow, although there's a lot of presentations already online. We covered this quite a bit during Ignite. So I'll be brief in the interest of time, and spend a little more time on maybe demoing something relatively new and using the time for Q&A. But if you're looking for more information on PowerApps and Flow and how to build with those, and as well as how SharePoint integrates with PowerApps and Flow today, I would refer you to a number of videos that came out of the Ignite sessions where you just look for building business apps with PowerApps and Flow, and a couple of videos at least from Ignite will come up, and there's a lot of great partner content out there as well that I'm sure you're familiar with. So just quickly, let's talk about the landscape. As you know, SharePoint has been traditionally SharePoint customers have been traditionally building business apps using InfoPath and SharePoint Designer. And as you also probably know, we don't have any new versions of these since 2013. But they continue to be supported through the 2026 date due to the extended support that we provide. When we shipped SharePoint 2016, we extended the support for the 2013 InfoPath and SharePoint Designer products, so they continue to be supported, making sure that any existing business apps built using these technologies continues to work correctly for our customers. However, these platforms are fairly dated at this point. They were designed in a different era. They were not cloud first, mobile first, and they were not necessarily easy to use. And this is where we have kind of turned our attention to Microsoft PowerApps and Microsoft Flow. And we see these as the successors for the InfoPath and SharePoint Designer workflows. So across SharePoint, we're doing a lot of work to weave different features for how we can leverage PowerApps and Flow and the connector infrastructure that they bring. And we really want to make SharePoint a first-class citizen in that ecosystem of building apps. Thank you. All right. So let's talk a little bit about PowerApps. So this is a service, even though we use the name app quite a bit in it. It's a service that you use to build apps. The biggest advantages are being able to connect to existing data systems, and of course SharePoint is one of these systems, but it's not just SharePoint, it's so many more different data sources. It could be SQL, it could be other third-party data stores like Salesforce, it could be Microsoft's Dynamics, and it lets you build apps and forms in a drag and drop user interface without writing code. So we are really targeting the business audience here for being able to create those customized apps that are specific to business problems. Very similar to how InfoPath was doing it, but kind of taking it beyond the browser and into mobile apps in addition to the browser. And once you're done with your app, it gives you an easy way to publish these apps to your users for web and for mobile form factors. This is a slide that tries to capture how it works. So at the bottom, at the very bottom of the slide, you see your data. And as I mentioned, it is connecting to a number of different sources through what we call the connector infrastructure. And Microsoft provides a number of these out of box, including the SharePoint one, which the SharePoint team owns. So the model is usually each team inside Microsoft will own a specific connector, and then they will be responsible for adding and improving features that are in that connector, so that the Power Apps you can build with it or the flows that you can create with it become more capable. And of course, these are connected across flows and Power Apps, so we will touch flows in a second, but when you hear connector, think that it is actually a dual-sided story, and it benefits both flows and Power Apps. And then per user, you have a connection to that underlying system. In connections, we'll later touch on being able to also connect to on-premises resources in addition to the cloud first resources through the through the on-premises data gateway that is very easy to install into your environment. Then for Power Apps, you create your app using drag and drop and Excel-like formulas in Power App Studio. It is also a web-enabled program, so you don't need to install a thick client for it. You can just run it in the browser. Once you are happy with your app, you can just store that and publish it into the cloud. So distribution becomes a non-issue. And then end users, the people that you shared your app with, can use that app on web and mobile. And there's a directory for the apps for your company. There's an easy way to share with your company, and the marketplace for these apps, the app source, will also enable things like sharing across companies, where partners build a solution and then maybe make it available to their customers through that app source store. All right, let's talk about Flow quickly. This is basically an evolution on workflows, and it is a much easier, much more user-friendly way of building workflows from what we had with SharePoint Designer workflows. There's still some gaps in terms of capabilities, but the Flow team, as well as the SharePoint team, is hard at work to close those gaps and make these things first-class workflow solutions in the very near future. This is where a lot of our effort is going towards. Just like with PowerApps, you're able to connect to all these different systems, and this is where I think SharePoint workflows has a distinct disadvantage to what Flows can provide, because in this day you want to be able to connect to all these different data sources, be it consumer services like Twitter and Instagram, and you can imagine, or MailChimp, you can imagine a marketing team, making use of those extensively, as well as internal data sources, SharePoint, OneDrive for Business, your Office 365 Outlook, and Yammer, for example, as well as some other third-party business sources like Salesforce. So we think that is a big differentiator for using this infrastructure. So I use the slide at Ignite as well. We really want our customers and partners to understand that this we're really looking at the integration with PowerApps and Flow with SharePoint as a holistic thing. As I mentioned, we own the connector infrastructure. We're thinking about introducing a lot of extension points into the SharePoint UX, as you may have seen, and we'll see in a demo in a second. But we really think that PowerApps and Flow are the tools for business users for building these business applications in SharePoint. And we think they're ready to go today, and they'll only get more capable and better tomorrow. So if you are building solutions in this business apps area for SharePoint, PowerApps and Flow are the tools to look at, to use, to give feedback to us so that we can make the improvements that will support your scenarios. Okay, so with that, let's jump into a quick demo. And I hope the demo gods are with me today, because I put this together last night and it seemed to be working fine. So I have a list here that I put together last night. Basically, it's called a tweet catcher, and what it's doing is it's capturing a number of tweets from the world and running some sentiment analysis on it, and then presumably you would be able to then go and say, hey, look at these low sentiment tweets, and maybe record some outcome. You can think of it as like maybe a marketing thing, even though the site I put it on says human resources. I apologize for that inconsistency. But the thing that we really wanted to do was we wanted to make it very easy for end users to be able to use Flows and PowerApps in various SharePoint areas. We started this with the custom lists. So when we modernized the lists, we added the Flow and PowerApps buttons from the get-go, so that it would be very easy for customers to start using those tools to get their work done. This is merely the first point of integration, and many other integration points are coming in the near future, as I will show you in a slide later. So when you pull down this thing and click on Create Flow, we give you a number of templates that kind of give you an understanding of what you can do with this, how you can automate some of these tasks. And let's say we click on when a new item is added, complete a custom action. It basically takes you over to the Flow site. It signs you in with the user that you're signed into SharePoint with. I'm using a demo account here under Chris M. And when you continue on, it will basically create this flow for you, bringing in your full site context so that you're ready to just start adding actions and doing other things. In the interest of time, let me come back here and show you the flow that's actually feeding into this list. So all I have to do is come here and then click on See Your Flows. I could have done that on the flow side as well. But this will basically give me a list of flows that I own that are running on this site. So let's turn this on. I had turned it off because there was so many tweets coming in. And let's take a look at some of these details. So I basically started, this is where we see that capability of being able to connect to so many different systems and where it really makes a difference. So here's a Twitter connection that's basically looking for the search, looking for the text Microsoft, in the body of the tweets. And then I connected it to this preview connector that is out there. It's basically a service from Microsoft Cognitive Services. And what it does is it does some text analysis and then tells you what your sentiment on that text is. It's not super accurate, but it does give you a sense, a score to give you a sense of that sentiment. And the key thing here in flows, what's so powerful about this is you can see that this is an action. The next step can use the output of that action. So if I click here, you can see I have a number of things that are available to me, including the text of the tweet from that first step. So I can just plug that into the second action to detect the sentiment. Then I want to go ahead and create an item in SharePoint. So I just pick this SharePoint connection and click on the Create Item action. And what I can do is I can grab the site URL here, pick my list, and basically start feeding into those list fields that you saw on the SharePoint list just earlier, where I can put in the tweet text here, I can put the username here under handle, and now I'm going to grab the output of the second step, which was the score for the sentiment, which is a value between 0 and 1, and I'm going to plug that into that. And then I'm going to put in the retweet count here. And then I'm going to leave the review outcome blank because we'll take care of that later. And then I can do even more things, like I can check if the score for this particular tweet is greater than 0.75. And if so, I can write a mail that says nice tweet. So in the original demo, I had this as less than 0.3. But then I figured that would, maybe result in a number of negative tweets. And then I just for demo purposes, I made it a nice tweet from someone as opposed to a nasty tweet from someone, just for fun. All right. Let's see where our list is. You can see, this thing is running and, we're basically pulling in a ton of tweets from the interwebs, and the sentiment analysis, sentiment scores are coming in. Is it the beginning of the end? That's not that great maybe. And then of course the immigration debate is raging, and there's a bunch of tweets around that. And the data is basically, now my SharePoint list is this data store for this data source that was out there and inaccessible to me. And now I can start to grab this data here and then start to do things with it. And this is where PowerApps comes in. And we, again, just like with flows, we really wanted to make it easy to be able to create an app. from a SharePoint list very easy. So all you have to do is click create an app and then give it a name, tweet demo, let's call it. And when I click create, it will open a new tab, sign me into PowerApps, and start to build my app. So we really wanted to start users with something that was already halfway there to what they wanted to do, so they don't have to, figure out how to get started on building an app, and they have something working out of the box. We just create it and save it. It doesn't look like much now, but let's see what we can do with it. You can grab these different fields. Here's a list that was basically showing me my different tweets. Maybe you want to show the title of the tweet here. Here's a Japanese one, I think. Maybe we want to give this a little more room. Here's the handle. Maybe we want to show the sentiment here. So you can see I already have a little mobile app that is showing me the data from my list. And I can start to do more interesting things with it as well. So you can imagine we don't want to just show basically a plain blue text. Maybe we want to differentiate the color based on the value that's in there. So what I can do is I can come here, grab the color, and then write an if statement that says if sentiment is greater than 0.7, maybe we want to show green, and if sentiment is less than 0.3, we want to show red, and if all else, we want to show gray. And just like that, the formula just gets evaluated on every item. And now I have a list where I have conditional formatting. So here's a gray text that's kind of in the middle value. Here's one that's 0.9. I think this is ironic, and the sentiment detector is not picking it up as accurately as it should be. And a number of other items, as you can see here. So very quickly, I'm able to build these apps and use these apps and publish these apps to people in my company so that you can start to use this as a data source for your business apps and get your users these apps outfitted with these apps that can run in the cloud and on their devices. So let me see. Seem to have a little trouble there. Yeah, the other thing that we did was we basically create a handle to the new app that you just created, so you can always get to it from SharePoint. This is presented as a view of the app, and it's a helpful handle to be able to open the app from here, from within SharePoint. And if you want to edit the app in PowerApps, there's a nice handle for it from here as well. So if you started from SharePoint, you're able to also stay in SharePoint and have this handle to get to the app. And we're also working on embedding the app directly into SharePoint so that you don't have to change that context and you can continue to use the app from here. So that's a brief demo of the various things that happened. Just to show you the integration working, you can see all of these mails are kind of flowing in as well as a result of that extra step that we had that was sending mail based on the condition of the sentiment analysis. All right, let me cover a couple more slides and then we'll take some time to do a short Q&A before Asaf's session. The on-premises data gateway, I already mentioned this. It's very easy to install. It works with your account in Office 365. And it is the same gateway that Power BI was using, so it's kind of a more advanced version of that. It's a newer version of that, and it serves Power BI, Power Apps, and Flow. And today it's very easy to connect to SharePoint 2013, 2016, as well as SQL Server to this cloud-enabled apps. It basically does an HTTP tunnel into your data source going through the gateway, and there's no setup required on SQL Server or SharePoint. So it's good to know that you're able to connect to those on-premises data sources and connect them to online sources as well. Quickly on the roadmap, we know we have some gaps, and we're working hard actually to fill those out. The thing that's coming in fairly soon, within the first quarter, I'm hoping, is the integration with document libraries. And OneDrive for Business will come after that, maybe in the next quarter. We're also working to select individual items in a document library or a list and then kick off a flow for those particular items in addition to the automatically running flows. I mentioned we are working on embedding PowerApps in SharePoint, either in the modern list in that view that you saw, as well as in the form of a web part. So we know that our customers want to build pages that include embedded PowerApps, as well as other embedded Power BI charts and other web parts. So we have that on our roadmap as well. Again, the customizing the form story, which was a big use for InfoPath in SharePoint, we want to modernize that by using PowerApps again. And of course, supporting all kinds of SharePoint fields like images, attachments, multi-value fields. Those are on the roadmap and are coming very soon in the first half of this year, I hope. All right. With that, maybe we can pause and take some questions, or if we're running low on time, maybe we can do the second part of the presentation as well, and then take questions in the end. Michael, up to you, or Asaf.
Yeah, I think we're good. Let's take a couple of questions here. So one of these is my client security team would like to know exactly what happens in a flow when the service is enabled to use company data. We realize that each service is going to be different, to do different things, and we can't find any documentation describing what functionality is actually enabled.
Okay, yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. So with Flow, the thing to know is your connections to underlying data sources are always done using a user. So you never, it's as if you wrote some custom code that was just calling REST APIs with a user token that has permissions on that system. So whenever you create a SharePoint connection with your account as you're signed in, you can never do more than what your user could already do in SharePoint using REST APIs. So any data, for example, if you're connecting to a list that you have permissions to see some of the items and no permissions to see other items, you'd only get back the items that you have permission to see. All of that security trimming is done by SharePoint because you're coming in as your own user. It's not like some system account that's kind of a higher level. So all of the security permissioning applies directly for the user. So all of that is in place. The other thing that we hear a lot about from customers and partners is a concern about where my data goes as soon as I make it part of the flow. And people really want to make sure that that is not used to maybe go into unauthorized sources. And the Flow team and the PowerApps team actually came up with a solution for that in the form of some policies that you can enact on your environments in Flow. So every Office 365 administrator has the ability to go to the Flow or PowerApps Administrator Center. It's basically another tile that is available to you through the Office 365 admin portal. And in there, you can set a default policy of where your data can travel. So you're able to say something like, hey, there's a boundary between SharePoint, Office 365 Mail. Let's say you're using Trello for work. Trello is in there, but for example, other consumer services like let's say Instagram or Twitter or Facebook are outside, or you don't want people posting things to Slack, even though some teams are using it. It's not sanctioned by the IT. You can put Slack outside that compliance boundary and put Microsoft Teams on the inside the compliance boundary, or vice versa. If using Slack is your thing. So you are able to kind of create a boundary for where the data can travel, and that way any flow that you create or any PowerApps that you create that accesses the data on one side of the boundary won't be able to use that data on the other side of the boundary, and there's some enforcement for that at the system level. Hopefully that's helpful.
Very good. And one question is there anything to help us choose between SharePoint Designer or Flow when we need to start a new project?
I would strongly recommend that you start with Flow. So there's obviously some gaps in terms of some of the stuff that you're seeing on the slides here. And it really depends on your timeline. So we are really working hard to make Flow as full-featured as SharePoint Designer. So sometime this year, I hope, the capabilities of Flow will basically surpass SharePoint Designer. And it's already ahead of SharePoint Designer in some ways because it can connect to so many different systems and do things that SharePoint Designer could never do. And it's a little easier to do them as well. So I would recommend starting with Flow unless there's a reason for there's some urgency and you're not able to do a particular thing. And then you should, if you run into those issues where Flow is not capable enough to do those things, I would get on the Flow product forums and let us know so that we can prioritize fixing and closing that gap as quickly as possible. So I would say start with Flow unless you really need something from SharePoint Designer to get what you need done.
All right, that's some good guidance. And one question is, are there any comparisons between Flow and, say, Nintex or K2? I haven't seen anything. Is anything like that available?
I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of content out there. K2 and Nintex, they live and breathe workflow and and other business solutions. So we work a lot with those guys, and they're great partners, as are our other partners. So they usually partners usually go the extra mile and fill in some of the capabilities that some of the more specialized capabilities that we can't provide, or make it a little easier for customers to get some out of the box solutions for specific verticals in place. That said, I think I heard from Nintex that they're looking into integrating with Flow as well, maybe by building their own connector. So you can, just like how you connect to SharePoint, you would be able to connect to the Nintex workflow cloud that they just announced. And other partners, I think, may be looking at that as well. I'm not aware of any comparison. It's just Flow is more of a platform, and partners usually can build on top of that platform. Is the way I see it. But I haven't seen any comparison. I'm sure there are some on the internet on differences in capabilities. And these things are changing so rapidly as well. We're adding features to Flow. Of course, partners are adding features to their products. Everything is in flux all the time, which is makes this very exciting space.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Asaf Berenson. I'm a part of the ecosystem team in Microsoft, responsible for the partner programs for PowerApps, Microsoft Flow, and a few other products at Microsoft. So today I'm very excited to talk to you about the partner opportunity and the programs that we put together to build a successful partner ecosystem that will have a substantial business on top of the PowerApps and Microsoft Flow. So walk you through some of the benefits of rolling into the program, some of the resources we're putting together, and talk to you about kind of the call to action in terms of how to get listed and what to expect.
Let me know when to advance the slides, I guess.
Yeah,
all right.
That's good. So you've heard from Kerem about the product capabilities. We see tremendous growth since we launched both those products early in November, given the fact that those are bundled into Office 365. So any Office 365 user out there, which we have tens of millions of them, is have access to those products from the get-go. So that means from a marketing perspective, you have a market opportunity here to build solutions that address all of those millions of users that are available today. The other thing is that we know that in many organizations, custom app development is something that Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back.
Okay. Good. And so with the lack of resources, money, skills, and people to build full-blown applications using traditional development tools, we think that PowerApps and Flow are filling the gap in terms of being able to build those custom app development solutions for specific use cases that any organization needs today. Everything goes mobile, everything now goes digital. There's so many opportunities that are not being addressed today with the traditional way of building applications. And so we already see from the partners that already rolled into the program, they're getting bombarded with so many use cases that the customers are coming in, asking them to extend their existing practices around SharePoint, around legacy systems, ERP systems, all other enterprise systems, to extend those to be able to have a mobile use case, mobile endpoint that can be deployed to any device, and don't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars doing so. So next slide. So Office is what you've seen today, how we've done the integration with PowerApps and Flow. In addition to that, we've also bundled those capabilities within Dynamics 365. And so the goal here is really to have a full-blown business application platform that spans across business applications such as Dynamics, ERP, CRM, as well as Office, and then also things like Power BI for getting insights into action using PowerApps and Flow. And then underneath, you heard about all the connectors that we're building that are shared across those platforms. So there's a lot of those connectors that are built by Microsoft to access SaaS applications, third-party applications, as well as connectors that are going to come from our partners and ecosystem. On top of it, there's the common data service that was mentioned as well, which is a very cool technology to be able to sync a lot of data sources into one data store that has those standard entities that you can extend as well. And so you can look into the common data service as your mashup data store, which you can build PowerApps and Flows on top of it. Next slide. So as you've seen, the platform is pretty rich and capable, and we need good partners that are skilled and able to build those solutions for our users. And so the partner program is really about building solutions. And so if you go to PowerApps.com today, on the top navigation bar, there's the partner button there. There's 3 menu bars over there. One of them is about the solution showcase. And over here, we're giving partners opportunity to showcase their solutions on our properties. Each of those solutions will have a unique experience where customers can learn about the solution. They can interact with the screenshots of the applications and the solutions. There's a video that we can embed within the PowerPoint, within the page. And then coming soon, we'll also be able to embed a full application within the wireframe. In that way, customers can interact with your solutions, and we're also going to be able to publish your solutions into a new marketplace that was launched recently called appsource.com. Microsoft appsource.com is a new marketplace that was built for business users to find solutions. And so if you go to the next slide, what we're giving the partners as part of the program is to be able to build a practice that will be very profitable based on the number of users and the demand that we're seeing. You'll be able to showcase your solutions on our own Microsoft properties. You'll get customer leads through a partner program called App in a Day, which we're giving you resources to run events, to train partners, and show your solutions, and then connecting with our own Microsoft field as part of a lead generation and go-to-market. Next slide. So the onboarding process, you go in and you sign up to the partner program on PowerApps.com. If you go to the partner button there on the top navigation, there's a get listed or become a partner form. I'll put it in the IM in a minute. Once you fill up the form, we will review it and then invite you to our program where you're going to get access to an admin portal where you can start submit your solutions. We will take all the collaterals to build out the showcase experience that I've talked about earlier. You'll get invited to readiness and a lot of enablement resources. And then once you rolled into the solution showcase, you'll also be invited to take part of the partner offers, which for those that are going to be part of the offers, you'll be able to get all those leads that we're going to start funneling into your solutions. What we're going to do essentially is have in-product notification to all the users that are using the product and looking for solutions. So we'll be able to funnel those users looking for solutions to partners based on certain criteria. So you can expect, all those millions of users that start looking for specific solutions to be able to find them on our marketplace. Next slide. And so I mentioned on the demand generation program that we're putting together as part of our offers. So what we're saying here is, we put together collaterals and specific IP called App in a Day. We're basically going to train the partners on using it to run this one-day hands-on experience for their own customers. We're also going to be with you building those demand generation program where you'll get an invitation that we're going to publicize on our own properties with your logo, and customers could register to those events, and we will funnel those leads to you based on the registration. And so that becomes your basically marketing tool, so you don't have to invest doing all of the groundwork in terms of getting customers and leads. Next slide. We also have the partner resource page, which we have a lot of content for enablement, both marketing and sales, as well as technical enablement. So you can get started very quickly, both on pitching the product, demos, as well as technically being able to build solutions. Next slide. So in summary, I would like to have you sign up today. Just go to PowerApps.com. On the top navigation, look for partner, become a partner, fill up the form. Once you do that, we'll get you invited into the partner portal to admin your profile there, and which will in turn get you into the solution showcase and then to the marketplace, and from there on you'll get all the benefits that I mentioned on this call. And so looking forward to get all this to you and have working with you. We also have a YAML group that you can subscribe to interact with all the other partners and have a community that support each other with questions and answers and all the different information that usually comes up when we launch a new product. So I think that's what I had from a partner program perspective. If you have any questions, I'd love to know how we can help. Oh yeah, this is just to show you what to expect. I mean, this is a screenshot of a solution showcase that we built for one of the partners. And so essentially, you can see here there's a description of the solution. There's a way to contact the partner to watch a video, as well as we're embedding those screenshots. And then in the near future, we'll also be able to actually embed the full application within the page itself, so your customers can interact with the solutions that you build together. All right.
Great.
All right.
Oh, okay, there's Michael.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. So Asaf, thank you so much. And we have a few more minutes, so I want to get to a couple more questions. Asaf, I guess for you, we just close out a couple that came in, and then I have some more questions for Kerem. So on the partner program, do we need to register specific PowerApps or Flow solutions, or can we register with a specific service offering?
Yeah, that could be both a service offering or a solution. So, our program is for both system integration service providers, as well as for more of a solution or ISVs, if you will.
Great. And then question is the Yammer group that you mentioned a subset of the Office 365 partner group? And I don't believe it is. Is it an external network? And did you put that link somewhere in one of the chat windows?
Yeah, I will put it right now. I think should it be in the messages?
Yeah, if you're in the moderator window, you can just go ahead and post an announcement. Otherwise, you can put it in one of our chat windows, and I'll grab it and put it there. Either way is fine.
Yeah, I'll put it in the right now. Sign up link is here.
All right, well, while you work on that, let me get to a couple of more questions, and thank you so much for providing that partner opportunity and outlining everything. I appreciate that. And so one of the questions, Karim, this is probably for you. So I guess this must have been specifically around your demo, and it says any functionality such as multiplying the score by 100 to get a percentage. So I think what he's asking is, like, is there any way to break in and do work on the data as it moves through that pipeline?
Yes, that should be possible. And I did notice that I think that control is not available here, but let's say, can you guys still see my screen?
Let's see.
So here's, for example, let's say you were going to edit that list, right? And this is what I would have showed if I had some more time. This is the edit screen for the app that we were on. And you can see that the handle is there. The review outcome is should be at the bottom, so you can drag and drop reorder things. And this actually, there's a control here that lets you select the sentiment and change how it looks. So instead of a number, you can click on View Percentage, and it will show you kind of a toolbar type of control. I guess you need to multiply that by 100, you're right. Yeah, you should be able to grab the value and yeah, you can see the formula that is being used there. I'll need to look into it, but I think there should be a way to do that by manipulating the formula. So anything that you click on will let you have these formulas in there that you can interact with. So you should be able to multiply things by 1,000. Let's see if this one is easier. Let's say text very quickly. So we can say take this number for sentiment and multiply it by 100. I think this is how you can do it. No? Yeah, I apologize. I don't know exactly how to make that happen, but you should be able to use a variety of formulas here. If you could post that on the forum in PowerApps.com, in the community forums, I'm sure you'll get an answer in a very short time. Sorry, I don't know exactly how to do it, but I know it can be done.
All right, and then just in the couple of minutes that we have remaining, maybe we can kill two questions with one. So one of the questions is around, so we know that it's kind of surfaces right there in the modern list to be able to create a Power App and a flow. And so one of the questions is, will we ever be able to create a flow from a classic list in SharePoint? And then kind of a related question, is there any concept of having a site-wide apps that I guess that wouldn't be tied to a specific list?
Right. So the lists are the same. So modern or classic, it's basically a difference in the front end. Obviously, there are some additional capabilities, but this is a list that you could have just as easily clicked on Return to Classic and viewed in classic mode. So you can go directly to any list and grab the URL for that list, at least grab the site URL. And then even if the UI doesn't help you creating these things, which is basically something that will help you create something quicker, and then you can come to My Flows and create a new flow from blank. And you should be able to connect to SharePoint lists that are, let's say, new items created. So you can, all you need to do is you can grab the URL and plug it in, even if it's a classic looking list, and be able to connect to it. This is in fact how it works when you are on premises, because on premises we don't have the modern UX. And if you are using the data gateway to connect to an on-premises list, this is how you would do it. You would type in the site URL, and then through the gateway, it would be able to connect and give you a list of the lists, and then you pick it, and then it works pretty much the same way. It's just that the modern UI gives you quick way to plug in that data into Flow so that you don't have to do it manually. And we just made it a little faster with the templates as well as these affordances that connect to the SharePoint Online service. But it would just work the same way for Classic. About site-wide actions, those will be coming later. We know that there's a lot of work that we're basically scheduled to do on the lists and document libraries first. And once we're done with those, we do want to add additional actions like being able to connect to the search service, being able to get notifications on, when people are added as members to the site, when a new site is created, and things like that. So those are on the roadmap, but they're towards the later part of the roadmap. First, we're concentrating on lists and libraries.
And great. And then part of the roadmap question, when somebody wants to know, will they be able to assign a flow to a particular SharePoint content type? Is that something that they might be able to do in the future?
We do want to expose the content types in flows, and you should presumably be able to write some conditions based on the content types. I don't know if we'll have a trigger in the near term that will say, hey, for a specific content type, but maybe you would be able to grab any event on the list and then check if the content type is a specific thing that you're looking for and take action based on that. So it's content type support, it's on the roadmap. I think we will do it similar to how we would do conditions today, but the design for that is not fully set yet, but it's on the roadmap. It's coming. And if there's any feedback or ideas about how to go about that, we would love to hear from you on that in the forums, or you can send mail to us now to Michael or me, and we can talk more about that.
Great. Well, thank you both so much for your time today, and being that we're just past the top of the hour now, I'm going to go ahead and close out the call. And I do apologize. We have more questions than we have time. And so what we can do is on the Yammer group, when I post the call, we can go ahead and maybe start a conversation, and I can add some of those and get some of those answered. So again, thanks very much.
I would love to answer anything else offline, either in the Yammer forum or in the product forums as well. So please do post there, and we can keep the conversation going.
Awesome, really appreciate that. All right, well, thank you everybody, and look forward to you joining next month. And enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.